All right, and we are live.
Nice.
Live and direct.
Live
Welcome
and
back
direct.
to the Leo AMA. We did do the AMA last week. Me and Taskmaster did it.
Nice.
Now Mitch is back, and we're all good there. So we were just
We got the audience.
we were just doing the S Leo migration.
Indeed.
So that has been a lot of fun for me.
Which, I mean, looking back on
But,
it, it's not super hard to do. I mean, obviously wallet of choice. I imported to my MetaMask, but then really it was just like the approval had just kind of like a delay. So I ended up approving like multiple times when maybe the move is to just approve and like chill out for like 5 minutes and then try the next step. And then if it doesn't work at that point, then yeah, you might want to refresh and try approving again.
right.
And that's also the thing too. Like even like every next step you go to try, like if it doesn't work, try refreshing browser, connecting again, and then hitting that next step also as like your next troubleshooting. So, but yeah, outside of, I mean, otherwise, with the approval taking a minute to kind of like just be recognized, technically it was pretty smooth.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I think once you get it, it's like once you get all the things in the right places, it just kind of works. But it definitely requires a little bit of finagling at first, especially if you're on a key store. I think that just adds some complexity. But like if you're on Kepler, for example, like that was super easy for me. Or MetaMask already is easy. Or if you're using a cold wallet, even with an extension, it's easy. It's really just the key store people that are struggling a little bit with it, which is understandable. This is hopefully a one-time thing, so we won't have to worry about it going forward.
Yeah, that is
I
true.
see most of the Leo has migrated.
Yeah, anyone using MetaMask already is good. So, which is funny because like I use MetaMask like for basically everything else except for LeoDex. Like, and I sort of did that on purpose though. Like I like having all my LeoDex kind of like carved out, so I can just keep it clean and I know what I do with LeoDex. And then obviously I can send things from my MetaMask to my key store address.
Yeah.
When I want to, whatever, make transactions on LeoDex. But yeah, so what's going on? I mean, obviously there's still some people that got to migrate as Leo. But outside of that, obviously I know TTSLA, it's so hard to say with that extra T. Launched like a week or so
Tokenized
ago.
Tesla.
Right. Yeah.
But
Just
yeah.
call it tokenized Tesla. It's easier to say.
Yeah.
So did the government shutdown officially end? I know like did it end up getting approved in both segments? I know it was the Senate had approved.
I didn't see that, to be honest.
Oh, last night. Hold on. Government shutdown. Oh no, the House still has to vote on it. Wait, yeah, government shutdown in tonight. Senate approves funding package sending it to. All right, because yeah, the Senate approved last night. I don't know, for some reason I thought it was going to go to the House last night as well. So the House is I guess still hasn't ended. I still can't find anything that's saying whether it's.
I'm not sure. As long as you're not flying or going to the DMV, I feel like you're probably fine.
Yeah, I flew last week, and sure as shit, I had my first flight. The plane was coming from DC, which seems to be the most impacted airport of all of them, and that plane got super crazy delayed, and my flight ended up getting pushed to like 3 a.m, which essentially is as good as canceling it. So I ended up going up the next day instead. But yeah, I know a bunch of people that are flying tomorrow. So hopefully this thing gets greenlit today. Yeah, it looks like the House still has to vote on it.
Yeah. Wow. Not ideal.
What is it? Duffy says air traffic control should get 70% of back pay within 48 hours of shutdown ending. Well, that's good. Anyway, all right, that makes sense now because I was actually surprised that like the market and Bitcoin weren't up. Although they did get a bump yesterday, like for the expectation that the shutdown was going to end. So I guess now it's taking a little bit longer. In fact, Bitcoin's getting hit pretty good today, down 3,000 points. Which it's funny though. I was looking at the chart and I actually grabbed some at like 101, 300. I think was my average price because I was buying like swaps on MetaMask, and the pricing is just never good doing it that way. It seems to lag, but when we bounced up to 106, I was like, well, 106 is like a support resistance area. So I wouldn't be surprised if it ran into a little resistance there. And sure enough, it did. Yeah. So technically, I mean, we're in a descending channel anyway since the October top on Bitcoin. Like it's like a little just clear descending channel with, lower highs and lower lows. So if we stay in that, I mean, shit, we could easily see Bitcoin in the mid 90s, which personally I would love. I want to see sub 100 one more time. I'm a buyer, sub 100, 95, and even if we saw 85, that'd be great. I know everyone else probably doesn't want to sit through that pain, but I want to buy lower. So, but who knows? We can obviously zoom up at any time. Things still look healthy on the monthly chart though, which is good. We're holding the 10 period average. We're actually like right at it right now. We tested it again, which was good because we needed to. But yeah, I will put a bow on the Bitcoin talk saying as long as the monthly candles close above the 10 period moving average, I am bullish because that has been the case now since we started this uptrend back in 2023, essentially early 2023. We went up, went sideways, stair-stepped sideways, but that whole time, like when it goes sideways, it basically maintains that 10 period moving average. I think September 2023 might have been the only time it closed like right at it or just below it, but otherwise, yeah. So we'll see what this month ends up doing. But ideally, if November closes above like 102, technically that same trend is intact. So that's my 2 cents about Bitcoin price action.
Yeah, I have no idea. It's funny to feel like we dropped to 100K and everyone's like, "Oh, bear market," but a couple months ago, a couple years ago, 100K was unfathomable to a lot of people. So I tend to zoom out. Mitch is the charts expert, but yeah, it's definitely been a choppy market. I've said to a lot of people, I think this crypto market has been the hardest market. And I've obviously seen the crypto winners that we've gone through.
Oh yeah,
This is like, it's just so unpredictable and choppy, and the altcoins, most altcoins have been completely destroyed.
yeah, especially with
Not
that
even in just
flash
Bitcoin terms,
crash.
USD terms. Yeah, and then you've got that flash
Yeah.
crash. That I mean, I know a lot of people personally who were wiped out. I mean, completely wiped out of crypto,
Wow.
just from
I
that
mean, I
flash
took a
crash.
hit, but not like that because I'm glad. It's funny too because we talked about this earlier in the year. I met these like quasi normies, but they're also like Bitcoin maxis. They're normies that are just big into Bitcoin, and they kind of really slanted me towards you know Bitcoin is the one that makes the most sense. And I slowly kind of started cleaning up my alts and just focusing on acquiring more Bitcoin instead of messing with the alts. And I'm glad I did because I still had some alt plays, but those essentially got wiped out. Like I had a play on Sui that I was holding for like 8 months that I was up on like a nice little chunk of money, and that completely got wiped out because it was technically a leveraged position, but like I use like when I say like barely any leverage, like we had to go sub $1 for me to get liquidated, and sure enough, we did. And I was like, "Are you
Yeah,
kidding me? Like this thing was literally trading at 350 like an hour ago."
right. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just like the most odd market because I do think that one of the reasons is everyone positioned so heavily long because you're like, okay, well, Bitcoin's ripping to 120K, altcoins are gonna follow, like that's how it always is. But then your altcoins went down 50%. You know what I mean? Like Bitcoin went down
Right.
3%, and your altcoin bag went down 50%, and it's just like the the whipsaw of that is almost way worse than just like if everything was going down, then you would be at least expecting it. Like you wouldn't be so heavily long. I think the problem is that you watched Bitcoin rise from 50K to 120K, and now you're thinking that altcoins are going to go up. And then when they didn't, and they actually flash crashed, it just caught everybody off guard. I would say, um,
Yeah,
and
I
uh,
mean,
and that's rough.
the alts
But
just never did. I mean, technically, we did get, we did actually, was it? Yeah, just, I don't even, did Ethereum technically make a new all time high, or did it just get close?
I think it got close. I
Because
don't
I
think it made
mean,
an
yeah,
all-time
up at like
high.
4,800 or so back in 2021. So where did it get? Yeah, it did technically, I think, tick. Yeah, because it got just shy of five. I think
It took to
it barely ticked a
in
new all
August.
time high. You know what I mean? But it's like, yeah, the alts just never did what you think they would normally do. And the funny part is Binance Coin is the only alt that actually did well. I mean, now it's off highs, but I mean that thing got up to fucking 1360 or so. Um,
Yeah,
After it was trading at like 600-700, and then so that was the only one like bigger altcoin that made any kind of like actual kind of run in terms of like a price that was much higher. Like, I mean, it almost doubled essentially. Um, just from the summer of this year, and now obviously it's well off. It's at 966. It got, like I said, high 1300s, and I actually have some BNB that I've had forever, and I wish I would have sold all of it, but I sold like a third of it up at 1300 and actually threw it into a yield pool. So now I kind of have that Binance coin back because it's been buying the whole way down in the yield pool.
yeah,
But I've been earning interest, and the interest on tell you what, the interest on the alts are way better than Bitcoin. I mean, I'm consistently probably 2x the APR on ETH and Binance Coin than I am on Bitcoin.
it is crazy that it went up so much, and I think it is a lens into this like shift in focus towards real revenue. And I think most people are now focused on like, well, crypto isn't just about like bullshit anymore. Like there is like a real revenue aspect to things. Um, but that being said, then you see like a lot of non-technical meme coins, still kind of mooning randomly. So it's still like a casino that there's like occasional normalcy to it, but overall, it's still completely like it's just a crapshoot in most cases. And yeah, I mean, you're kind of playing on waves of hype at this point.
Yeah. So I feel like, when it comes to in Leo, I'm just like in LeoDex, I'm like, what did I miss? But I feel like I didn't, like, because last week, I'm sure um, tokenized Tesla was probably the talk. Um,
Yeah, Task and I were going pretty deep on real world assets and the potential there. But we actually started putting out, and I'll link it again in the threadcast. We started putting out these weekly recap threads on Twitter or X every Tuesday right before the AMA. So I just linked it in there, but you can follow along, and I'll kind of read through some of the stuff happening there, and then catch you up
so
and catch everyone up on the Leoverse.
nice. So tell me what you're doing because like, obviously I know you have tokenized Tesla, but you're also like, um, using that along with actual Tesla options, like on the stock market, as an investment play.
Oh yeah, so you're talking about me personally.
Yes.
Yeah, so I posted a thread earlier today on Inleo. And by the way, I just wanted to read Brando's comment before we move on.
Oh
But
yeah.
Brando said, I wouldn't be amazed if Bitcoin would continue to chop people to pieces, and most would quit altogether and then put up a green God candle. Would be very typical for this cycle. Yeah, I agree, and it just goes to show like the choppiness of
I
this
love it,
cycle has been
honestly. I
just
love
pretty
it.
insane.
Like, because
Yeah,
it's great. It's great for my yield pools, and I'm earning Bitcoin as yield, well, half the yield. So the more we chop, that's more time. I'm just essentially earning Bitcoin for free. Um,
right.
Granted, I can't say it's Bitcoin I would normally just be holding because, yeah, obviously in the pool, Bitcoin goes up. I'm technically selling, but that's fine because that's that money is designated for that. It's not my long term Bitcoin holding. So yeah, I'm hoping Brando is on point. I would love to keep chopping the rest of the year, and then yeah, God candle in like January or something.
Yeah,
And then at that
yeah, I
point,
think it's possible.
yeah, and it's funny because and I'm in that one, like I said, that Bitcoin chat with kind of like the normies, and like they're talking about prices in terms of where we're at, when, and or when's the end of this upcycle. And I've seen all sorts of different numbers, but the other day someone mentioned like the next leg up is to like 144, and I was like, perfect, because at 144, I'm probably at that point borrowing against my Bitcoin a little bit. Um, and then doing something with that money, like maybe even throwing it into a yield pool or something. Um, so maybe that'll be where we get to after said God candle.
I wouldn't hate it. Yeah, I wouldn't hate it. But yeah, with that said, so your question about the tokenized Tesla thing. Sorry, one second.
Hold
So
on.
this morning,
Before we jump,
go ahead.
before you jump into that, we'll cover it because, like, basically, I want to make sure we cover people's stuff. I don't know if Casper asked, "Is there any news about the surge issue on base?"
Yeah, they've been continually posting about it, but if you're not watching what they say, um, said that they've been working on the NFT part of the LP positions. Um, So with the surge yield on base, it keeps getting held up because the Uniswap pools, the V4 pools, use NFTs essentially to and NFT in a different sense, obviously from like artwork, but basically when you open a Uniswap V4 position, it actually gives you like this NFT that represents your position. Um, and in order to pay out the yield and for surge it needs to include LP positions, and it's been having a lot of issues in terms of like properly counting those. So I'll drop a thread in the threadcast right now of what I saw that they posted. But yeah, that is the update. Is as soon as they fix that, then surge yield is going to be all good on base, and it'll be back paid to the last. I think the last two got held up because of the base yield in the LPs. So once those are fixed, you'll get the surge yield. So I
Nice.
know that they're just kind of fixing that. Um, but yeah, you can ping Leo Strategy for updates on that. But I know that they're working on it. So in terms of this Tesla thing, so this is pretty interesting because we have tokenized Tesla now, which opens up really this like entire new market of what can be done. And I just find it like really fascinating. And obviously, my background is as an options trader. Um, so I have been trading options for what I'm going to be doing almost 14 years now, which is pretty crazy. It's like half my life. Actually, yeah, it'll be half my
That
life.
is
And
bananas. I'm like, what the
yeah,
trading options like junior high school? Like, what the?
yeah, I was. Yeah, I started trading when I was 14. So yeah, I'm going to be 28 this year.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, this I didn't think about that, but this year it'll officially be half my life that I've been trading. So options are like deeply in my background. They're like my first love. And I I've been thinking a lot about tokenized Tesla and RWAs in general from Leo strategy. But what I think is really interesting is you can look at a lot of arbitrage trades now where you can look at tokenized Tesla and then look at Tesla on the stock market if you have access to it. And you can do a lot of really interesting trades. So I actually was talking to ChatGPT to come up with a good strategy because I had this idea in mind about what we could do, or what I could even do just personally in terms of like arbitraging the tokenized Tesla delta that you get, and then essentially hedging it on options, on the options market. So let me try to keep it, as simple as I can. Basically, if you own tokenized Tesla, if you own 100 shares of tokenized Tesla, you have basically one notional share of Tesla stock, because one tokenized Tesla is pegged one hundredth of a Tesla share. So if you have 100 shares of tokenized Tesla, it equals one Tesla share, right? In terms of exposure. So if you look at the delta of that, you can essentially say, well, I have one Tesla share worth of exposure if I own 100 tokenized Tesla shares, and then I can go onto the options market and I can short the equivalent of one Tesla share. And if you short one Tesla share, you now have delta neutrality, which means whether Tesla goes up or down, it doesn't matter to you. You are perfect. So if Tesla goes up $10, your tokenized Tesla goes up $10 in value, and your Tesla share goes, and your short Tesla share goes down $10 in value, right? And I'm keeping this very simple. So what is interesting is if you believe that the peg will hold in long time frames, which I obviously do, in terms of tokenized Tesla, then you can take your tokenized Tesla shares and you can hedge them with options on the stock market. So what I did today was I started looking at the options chain for Tesla, and I'm kind of testing this in a smaller arena, but I have around 5,000 tokenized Tesla shares. So I was looking at the options chain of Tesla and saying, okay, if I open an options position and hedge the delta of my long tokenized Tesla, how much options premium can I collect? For that essentially. So you have to think about like what is your goal? Your goal is you're holding tokenized Tesla, which is paying you yield every day, right? Because tokenized Tesla pays yield. And then your secondary goal is can I open a short position on the stock market that gives or at least reduces my delta, whether or not you can play with your deltas. But if you want to have delta neutrality for the sake of this conversation, can I open a short position that has the exact opposite amount of delta as my long tokenized Tesla shares, and collect options premium for opening that, and then be getting paid yield from tokenized Tesla and yield from the options market because you're selling options and taking in premium. And if you're not an options trader, it's probably going to sound really complicated. I'm trying to keep it as like high level as I can. But when you sell an options contract, you collect a premium. And if the options contract expires worthless, that's what you want as an options seller, then you get to keep the whole premium. So what I did today was I sold I think it was a 450 and 455 call spread. So I just did a call spread for this to kind of see how it goes. But I sold a 450, 455 call spread. I think I took in a $2 premium, which means for each contract, I actually took in $200 because you multiply it all by 100. So I took in $200 in premium per contract. And each contract gave me a negative delta towards Tesla, which means I actually want Tesla to go down. So when you sell a call, you actually want the underlying asset, in this case Tesla, to go down in price. It's bearish. But because I'm holding tokenized Tesla, I already have long delta. So all I'm doing is I'm actually hedging that long delta by selling call spreads. And if I sell enough call spreads, I can actually have a zero delta position, which means whether or not Tesla goes up or down $100 is irrelevant to my position. My position is meant to collect yield. So I'm collecting yield on tokenized Tesla from the daily dividends, and then I'm collecting options premium from the short call contracts that I have. So I hope that I made that kind of easy to follow along with. But what is going to be really interesting to see is, if the tokenized Tesla peg holds in long time frames, you can essentially just keep refarming all of this. So you can just keep essentially you can sell call contracts and either wait for them to expire or close them early for a profit, and you can just keep renewing the contracts and just keep selling more. And if your goal is to remain delta neutral, which is what I'm planning to do with this, then you don't care if Tesla goes up or down or whatever. You are just arbitraging the spread of tokenized Tesla and Tesla. You're actually arbitraging the yield of the two. And then if you want to take it one step further, what's interesting is tokenized Tesla is right now trading below its peg. So if you buy tokenized Tesla and then sell or short Tesla, you are also arbitraging the spread of the correlation between Tesla and tokenized Tesla. So that kind of even adds to the strategy and makes it more profitable. Again, if you believe that tokenized Tesla will hold its peg in the long term. So very interesting, but essentially you're using the options market to arbitrage yield on both assets, and that's what I'm now doing. And I think it's pretty awesome. It's opening up a whole new market of what you can do in terms of like investing, trading, and just essentially being a trader in the Leo economy. If you imagine, if you take a 10-year, or I guess let's have a little commentary on it before I give the 10-year view. But I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that, Mitch?
I mean, obviously not for everybody, but pretty cool to do. And I'm like thinking about it. And of course, unfortunately, the way my mind works, it's always looking for like, all right, what's the risk, or how does this go the wrong direction, and obviously I'm thinking about with call spreads. Yeah, if Tesla rips, then you're going to take a loss on that spread. But at the same time, it's getting offset anyway by the increase in tokenized Tesla. But again, that peg is more of a long-term view, because it's not like day to day. That peg isn't staying. At least my assumption is that peg is not staying with the price of Tesla on a day-to-day basis. But over the long term, I assume we'll have periods where it kind of is synced up, so to speak.
Yeah, it is designed. So the way Leo Strategy designed this RWA system, and obviously tokenized Tesla is the first, but you can imagine in the future there will be more. The way these are designed is that it's on a peg policy model. So they actually modeled it after like the Federal Reserve and how they govern. They use interest rates to either heat or cool demand for the economy, right? So if you in this case, if you increase yield for tokenized Tesla, you increase demand, because if the yield is higher, more people want to buy it, right? So as the price deviates from the peg, the yield actually increases, and by increasing the yield, you drive more people to buy tokenized Tesla, which then allows it to regain its peg.
Yep.
Its peg, the yield comes back down to its nominal level, which is 3% APR. So you basically know that if you hold tokenized Tesla, you're going to earn no less than 3% APR. That's like the base dividend. But then if it goes down, the dividend increases. So like right now, the dividend is actually 5%. And if you bought the pre-sale, you get like a 2x bonus for 60 days. So you're actually getting 10% yield if you're a pre-sale buyer right now.
Okay. So speaking of the yields, Senor Coconut asked, is there a plan to be able to choose what type of yield, USDC, tokenized Tesla, Surge, whatever, to get when you're holding tokenized Tesla on base? Because I don't even. So what does it pay out right now? What does the yield pay out? What does it pay out?
So the default payout, if you're holding on Hive Engine, if you're holding tokenized Tesla on Hive Engine, is HBD.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then the default on base is USDC.
Okay.
You can use the TTSLA on threads to change your payout for Hive Engine. So, like for example, I have mine set to tokenized Tesla, which basically just means that my dividends get automatically auto compounded. So I'm
Oh,
actually
nice.
my yield, yeah, my yield is getting paid to me as tokenized Tesla. Um, so the and then you can also choose LSTR. So on Hive Engine, you can either your default is HBD, or you can choose to auto compound for tokenized Tesla, or you can choose LSTR if you want to get equity shares in Leo strategy, very similar to Surge. And then with the base part of things, right now it only allows you to earn USDC. But Leo Strategy is working on something they're calling EVM Connect, which will allow you to connect your base wallet to your Inleo, essentially to your Hive Engine wallet through Inleo threads. It'll all be done on threads. Um, so I know they're working on this. It's obviously very complicated because they're literally connecting two different blockchains together. Once that is done, you'll be able to actually it'll unlock this whole new. I think it's extremely exciting. It's going to unlock this whole new capacity for Leo strategy, which is you can essentially track and manage your base positions using Inleo threads and the different managers. So like you've got the Surge manager and then you've got the tokenized Tesla manager. Once they have EVM Connect live, you can connect your address, your EVM address, and then you can choose to get tokenized Tesla or LSTR on base, the same way it works on Hive Engine. So I think that's pretty fascinating. Is that you can do on Hive Engine right now. You'll be able to do on base simultaneously with your Hive Engine amounts. So basically, like the EVM Connect feature is going to bring together everything, right? It's gonna seamlessly connect everything, whether you hold on base or Hive Engine. And the way that yield works is also fascinating. So basically, if you choose tokenized Tesla, Leo Strategy is actually buying the tokenized Tesla off the market every time it sends the yield out. It does it all autonomously.
Obviously the trader in me is thinking about tokenized Tesla, and I'm looking at the deviation right now. I'm assuming the yield's higher because of that, and I'm almost like I could trade for yield. I feel
It's
like
a
isn't
yield
it
trade.
like right now, like if I buy tokenized Tesla, right, I'm getting that higher yield. And let's just say I think that Tesla stock's gonna have a pullback over the next week or two, right? Well, if I'm right and it does, then what happens is obviously that deviation is probably going to shrink, right? Because right now tokenized Tesla price is lagging, right? So there's going to be a convergence, right? And then the yield's going to shrink, but then it's also, so it's almost like the price of tokenized Tesla is probably not really going to go down much, if at all, as that deviation shrinks. So it's almost like it's still risk, but potentially it's almost like a free yield play for me, assuming that I'm right on the trade. That's pretty interesting. I might end up
Yeah,
doing that.
you can essentially yeah. I mean that's a good point. Like you can essentially just trade the deviation, and that's what I actually have been talking about it on Threads. I keep saying trade the correlation. I've been buying tokenized Tesla, and now I'm able to buy it while simultaneously shorting Tesla on the stock market because that gives me delta neutral, essentially a delta neutral position where I'm earning options premium on TradFi, and then I'm also earning the daily yield on tokenized Tesla. So I actually dropped a link to the TTSLA.yield thread.
Yeah, that's what made me think of it.
So these posted every hour. These threads getting posted every single hour, and it shows you it's directly connected to the NASDAQ. So it actually shows you the current price of Tesla, which is $435 right now. Then it shows you the current tokenized Tesla price, which is $3.41 right now. And then it shows you the real-time deviation, which is 21.6%. So that is basically tokenized Tesla is designed to trade 1 to 100 with Tesla. So that means that in this moment, it is 21.6% deviated from that peg. And then there's a 3-day moving average. So that 3-day moving average is really important to understand. What it means is there's essentially the snapshot of the Tesla and tokenized Tesla price is taken every single hour, and then it creates this moving average every constantly over 3 days. So basically, the average of the last 3 days of price action is in terms of deviation is what's creating that 3-day moving average. And then you see under that it says next policy rate. And then below that it says the current APR. So the current APR is 5%, right? The base APR is 3%. So last week on, actually yesterday on Monday, the new policy rate was set, and it increased it. It was a rate hike. So again, think of this like being very similar to the Fed. So basically, the autonomous 3-day moving average saw that demand for tokenized Tesla was cold, right? Like there wasn't enough demand to maintain the peg, so it increased the interest rate. It hiked it by 200 basis points. So that gives you a 5% APR. And now, since the moving average continues to stay low, it actually is predicting that the next policy rate day is going to hike another 100. That will take us to 6% APR. If the deviation continues to stay negative, that rate hike will be higher. And this is all predictable. So you can go to the tokenized Tesla docs that LeoStrategy posted, and you can actually predict the rate policy. So you can say, okay, well, I believe if the 3-day moving average is negative 15%, I think the APR is 20%. I could be wrong on that. I'm pretty sure. I'd have to check the docs. But if it's negative 15% 3-day moving average, the rate policy will increase to 20% APR, which is obviously huge. That's a huge rate hike that will happen. That's 1,400 basis points from where it is now, or 1,500 basis points from where it is now. So by hiking the rate, the goal there is, well, now it heats up demand, because you can, like Mitch said, you can look at that and say, hey, I want to trade the yield. I'm going to buy it when the yield is really high, and then I'll get that really high yield. And then as the deviation collapses, so the deviation eventually converges back to zero, the yield will come back down to 3%. And then you can either sell it or hold it. You can do whatever you want. If you just want to trade the deviation, you probably would buy it when the 3-day moving average is very negative, and then sell it when the deviation goes back to closer to 0%. So obviously this is kind of like this fascinating experiment that we're seeing in real time, where I don't think anybody has built any real world asset that's tokenized and on chain in this way, where there's a predictable and transparent rate policy where everybody knows exactly what the next rate is going to be. So if the rate is going to get hiked, you can buy and front run other people who will eventually buy because the yield is higher. So it basically creates this self-governing peg where people see the 3-day moving average, going more and more negative. Then they say, okay, the yield is going to get hiked. I'm going to buy tokenized Tesla. And then by buying it, it actually drives it back towards the peg, which then allows the yield to come back to normal amounts. So obviously the pre-sale just ended on Friday for tokenized Tesla. And the deviation right now is actually pretty much right at the pre-sale price. So what you see happen with these pre-sales is a lot of people will flip it. They'll buy it right at the end, and then they'll flip it for a profit, which obviously creates this immediate sell pressure after a pre-sale. But what I think we're going to see happen with all LeoStrategy products, and you saw this happen with LSTR, by the way, which is now trading 400% over the pre-sale price. Eventually, it magnetizes towards the stated value. In LSTR's case, that is the stated value of Leo per share. In Surge's case, it's $1 is the liquidation preference. Tokenized Tesla's case, it is 1 to 100th of Tesla. So if Tesla's $435, which is what it is now, tokenized Tesla should be worth $4.35. Obviously, it's deviated from that price, which means the yield gets increased to drive demand and then eventually retake the peg. So hopefully I explained that well. But you can see these posted every hour, and I track them very closely.
Nice. Just to circle back, because I saw Ronan that had asked about SLEO, and the answer is, and I know this from firsthand experience from an hour ago, no, you will not be able to migrate with Keystore. So that's...
Yeah, you have to import that to another, like MetaMask or something.
Yeah. But after you do the migration, then you can use your Keystore. You don't have to use the other wallet, like a MetaMask or, I think, what are they? Is it
Kepler,
any of those
Control? Pretty
What's
much any
that?
extension. I haven't seen any
Yeah,
extension that
I know like
doesn't work.
Phantom popped up for me, so I just used MetaMask because I already like had it set up. Okay, cool. Yeah. So, yeah, unfortunately, everyone, I just went through it. You got to do the migration and just leverage um, MetaMask or one of those type wallets to do the migration. But then once you do it, you are good to go at your key store again.
Yep.
So, cool. I need to dip. So, I don't know if you had any other parting words. It seems like everything's humming along, and now it's just let the things grow.
Yeah, I think the big thing with RWAs, and I was talking to someone yesterday about this, is what Leo Strategy is doing is essentially like rebuilding the stock market, but they're doing it on chain and backed by Leo in a way that is beneficial to Leo. So every single RWA generates profit for Leo Strategy, and Leo Strategy then uses all the profit to buy Leo, which drives the price and value of Leo up, which then increases the over collateralization of Leo backing all Leo Strategy products. Um, so I think this is going to be really fascinating to see it scale. And I keep saying strategy is in a very important position right now to strategically scale. So what they do, now and over the coming days and weeks is going to be really important because what they're doing is just scaling from like this initial state and scaling up the profit and scaling up the amount of Leo on the balance sheet. And the better the price of the Leo that they buy, the better the long term of the fund will be. So if they buy most of their Leo at 10 cents, and then Leo is $1 in the future, and $100, even further beyond that, then all that Leo that they bought at 10 cents is worth more, and they're able to do significantly better in terms of expanding RWAs. So right now Tesla, I think they're planning another RWA pretty soon. And again, the I think a lot of people are looking at it and they're like, well, what is the point of Leo Strategy just releasing all these tokens? Well, you need to look at it as what is the business model of Leo Strategy. The business model is that yes, releasing a token allows them to do a capital raise, which allows them to buy a chunk of Leo and put it on the balance sheet to back the asset that they just released. But what it also does is it gives ongoing profits to Leo Strategy to continually buy more and more Leo. So if you want them to buy more Leo, like if you want them to continually push more and more capital into Leo, then making each pre-sale more successful than the last is extremely important. So that's why I'm doing everything I can to try to help them, in terms of all this stuff. And what is interesting that we've seen play out with tokenized Tesla now, it's only been live for the weekend, but it's already starting to have major impacts on the profitability of market making for Leo Strategy. So Leo Strategy now has 4 cross-chain market makers: Leo, LSTR, Surge, and tokenized Tesla. And adding tokenized Tesla to the stack actually injects volatility into. They're all vertically integrated, right? So when you add a new asset to the bottom of the stack, it now increases. Not only do you have a fourth, profitable business, essentially, you actually have more profit flowing upstream into the other 3 assets. And every time they release a new asset, you're going to see that it not only creates a new stream of income, it actually increases the other streams of income. And I think that a really kind of fascinating. It's kind of like this fascinating effect that when you vertically stack things in this way, you're not only creating a whole new way to profit. You're actually just increasing the whole size of the pie. So it's almost like you have a pie and you're adding a slice to that pie to make it bigger. But then you're also, like, by adding that slice, it then creates a impact on the other slices that makes all of them bigger. So not only do you add a new slice, you increase the size of all the other slices, which I think is really interesting, and it only works in very certain scenarios. And I know people love the flywheel word, but this is a flywheel. I think it's like the final boss of flywheels. Honestly, it's been very fascinating to watch, and I'm obviously keeping a very close eye on their market makers, and just seeing how this all plays out. But the tokenized Tesla thing is is very fascinating to me. I think RWAs are the future of crypto in a lot of ways. Like we've seen this explosion, years ago of all these altcoins. What we haven't seen yet is an explosion of RWAs and bringing assets from the real world onto the blockchain and tokenizing them. And I think the convergence of Leo strategy doing all of this while we're, the Leo team is building LeoDex. Like you literally cannot imagine a more ideal scenario for the Leo economy. Where we're building the best decks that we can build, and then Leo strategy is now building all these RWAs that are then immediately listed on the decks. So LeoDex actually kind of platforms Leo strategy and I saw someone ask about marketing. And Leo strategy actually created an X account, so go follow them on X. But LeoDex is essentially giving a platform to Leo strategy to then succeed. And as Leo strategy succeeds, the Leo token succeeds, which then actually gives marketing effects to LeoDex, because the best form of marketing in crypto is token price go up. So if Leo strategy succeeds, then it actually makes LeoDex succeed. And then LeoDex succeeding actually gives more weight to Leo strategy succeeding, because now there's more eyeballs on what Leo strategy is doing. So I think it's awesome. I think watching tokenized Tesla go live and seeing it perform how it's performed is really great. And we're seeing the rate policy happening in real time. And I think people are starting to actually learn how all this stuff works. Keep in mind that this launch pad can be used for any RWA. So it can be used for real estate. It can be used for the S&P 500. And I see some of you guys asking me about what the next RWA will be. I'm not sure what it will be. Makashima said we should do gold, or we should see gold as the next RWA. Tokenized gold could have a lot of demand. Maybe it'll be gold or silver or anything. I mean, it literally can be any asset can be tokenized on chain by Leo strategy. And by tokenizing it on chain, they generate an immediate inflow of capital from the pre-sale, which they then use to buy Leo. And then they also generate ongoing profit from that RWA being live and trading in the open market. So it is a fascinating time. And like I said, I think the simplest way to explain it is Leo strategy is effectively rebuilding the stock market on the blockchain. And they're not only they're basically becoming the NASDAQ because they're the exchange listing the token, but then they're also becoming Citadel, or like a mega market who is market making all the assets. So they have like so many different ways to profit from all of this. It's immense. It's really it's fascinating to zoom out, and like I was saying earlier, zoom out like 10 years, and you could imagine there being hundreds of RWAs.
Yeah, RWAs are going to be crazy. I mean, BlackRock's already talking about RWAs, so it's just like,
they are.
Leo strategy is like ahead of the curve. Even, granted it's in this little ecosystem, but at the same time, there's an opportunity there, because as RWAs become more popular, it's like if you have already something that's established and been operating for a while, it's like you can present that kind of to the world and be like, hey, yeah, we've already been doing it. Like, here you go.
Right.
So there's definitely a lot of potential upside for the future. So cool, man. Yeah, sure. Awesome stuff. And I believe I will be here next Tuesday, but I might not.
All right. Yeah, just keep me posted.
I'll keep you posted. I should be back Monday night, but if not, I'll let you know.
Okay. Sounds good.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks for doing this. Thanks everybody for coming. And
good stuff.
Go learn about options and start options and tokenized Tesla.
Don't do it. Just stay in the little crypto world. That's where I'm not. I don't even look at stocks anymore. I just stay in the crypto world.
Oh yeah.
Cool deal. All right, everyone. Have a good one.